Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to flip your project inside out so that you can stuff it, and how to stuff it and then sew it up so that it's all set and all finished. All right, so what you're gonna need is your project plus your needle and thread, your pencil, or just anything really thin because we're gonna actually use this to help us later, and your stuffing. Okay, so first things first is when you get to the point where you're at the gap that you can sew your stuff in, you want to make sure that you have enough thread to actually finish sewing it when you're done. So I actually rethreaded my needle when I got to this point because I was getting really short, because I don't want to have to put on new thread and a new needle once I get to this point. Okay, so now that that's all squared away, I'm just going to start sort of flipping this inside out. So really carefully, I'm just gonna start pushing it through. And you wanna be really gentle because you don't wanna like really pull your stitches apart. I'm just using my thumb to get in there. I'm just gently pulling. Especially if you have really like small pieces, you're gonna just have to take your time with this. All right. So I can't really get the rest of this ear through, so I'm gonna take my pencil with the eraser side, and I'm just gonna slowly wiggle it back and forth. To push the rest of this ear out. Okay, and you can see where the stitches have been pulled because like over here you can't see the stitches, but we can fix that after. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so I'm going to take my, I could probably use my finger a bit first. So I'm pulling. All right, now I'll take my pencil, put it in there, turn it, and just wiggle it. Did I get all this one out? Okay. Just flip those parts. All right. And then I'm just gonna really gently like tug my thread. And it's totally okay that I can see some of my stitches. Oh, I still didn't finish that part. Okay. Now it appears like I'm ready to go. So my project is now flipped so that the outside of the fabric is facing outwards, right? And I'm ready to stuff it. So I'm gonna make sure that my needle is out of the way. I'm gonna open up this gap, and I'm just gonna start taking small pieces of batting. Now I wanna stuff the ears first because they're the furthest from my gap. So I'm gonna pull these apart and just start taking small sections. So I'm using my thumb to push this right now, but because this is kind of a thin piece, I'm gonna go back to using my pencil and just use that to guide the stuffing in. So now the stuffing is up here. I'm gonna do that again. And you can stuff it to your desired firmness. So, like if you want your stuffed animal to be like really firm, make sure you really pack the stuffing in there. But if you want it to be a little bit softer and more cuddly, don't use as much. So now I'm gonna do the other ear. This one I'm able to just get with my fingers, so I'm doing that. It's just like you're at Build-A-Bear. Okay, the ears are done, so now I'm gonna try to get some stuffing up here. Take another little bit. I think maybe just one more little piece. Alrighty, looking pretty good. Okay, you don't want to overstuff it so that the stuffing is like falling out, because we can continue to stuff it while we're sewing it up. So now I'm gonna just pull so that there's a bit more tension, and I can try to pin this. I probably will, just to make things a little bit easier for me. So I'm gonna pinch this together so that the seams are touching, and I'll put a pin through there just to hold it in place. All right, now we're just going to continue using overstitch. So because we flipped the fabric, I'm just going to put my first stitch around where my last one ended, which is right here. Put that through there. Pull. Move on to the next bit. Pull. And I'm basically just gonna sew until I can still fit like one finger through the gap. So maybe like 1 or 2 more stitches. All right, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna take the pin out, and I'm just gonna make sure that the stuffing is like touching these seams here. I'm gonna rip out any of that. And maybe I'll add like one more little piece in there. I think that looks okay. Now I'm just gonna rely on like pinching it for now. Pinching my seams together, and I'm just going to continue to use my overstitch to sew up this gap. All right, coming up on like my last 2 stitches, last couple. All right, and I don't know if you saw it, but so once I completed that, I actually went beyond to like my first or second stitch just to make sure that everything's really secure. And now I'm going to finish this off. So I'm just gonna do one more stitch. So do one last stitch, put it through, before I complete it, I'm gonna make my needle go through the loop that the stitch is creating. And pull. I'm starting to get a little knotted, but it's fine. All right, good. Now I take the area of the yarn closest to the stuffy, wrap it around my finger like that, take the needle, go through the loop, and then I'm gonna grab where the knot is forming right here, and I'm gonna drag it as close as I can to the stuffy while pulling. I didn't get it super close, but I think that's good enough. And then I can just cut that. So then I just cut right above the knot. And I've got my stuffy. Now what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of sort of massage the stuffing around. So that way it's a little bit more equally dispersed. And once it looks pretty good, then you're good to go. And I can start adding some embellishments.